Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on into the video. In today's video, I'm going to give you guys my best recommendations for all of the best augments, major and minor, for each perk, ammo mod, and field upgrade. So we're going to go over them, and I'm going to give you kind of like my reasoning and what is like the best case scenario for each of these augments. So we're going to start off going in order. We're going to start off with Jug. I think by far the best one is Probiotic. This gives you 300 health instead of 250, and it's better overall. I think Turtle Shell would be better if it was more like a classic zombies game, but we have so many manglers and so many sources of damage coming in from everywhere that I think that just having more health would be a lot better. Mangler spam is like my main issue with it. And then for the minor augment, I would say durable plates, higher rounds. Sometimes the armor is a bit scarce, so existing plates get to last longer. I think hardened plates would be good, more for like if you're going for an Easter egg boss fight, that kind of thing. It works really well with the shields up Gobblegum. Now we're going into Stamin-Up. I think the major augment is very much personal preference. Free Faller on Terminus for me, because I like the fun little shortcuts where you jump off the cliffs and, you know, you don't take any damage. In general, I would think Dasher, but Stalker is also good too. Hard Target for the minor augment, basically due to the Mangler spam. For Speed Cola, the classic formula, I feel like getting my field upgrades faster, I get them enough, so I don't think that one would be as good. And then Phantom Reload really would only work if you're using LMGs or something like that. It's more of a Destiny perk, so I think just classic formula, probably the best way to go. Speedy Roulette for the minor one. It reminds me of Time Slip. The swap weapons and use equipment faster doesn't seem as useful to me, just because I don't really use equipment or swap weapons. Like, it's not that necessary to me. So now going on to Deadshot. Deadhead I'd use in general, but Dead First is good for headshot challenges for the camos. Deadhead is mainly due to the armor in the later rounds, so you don't get like that. They're not full health technically when you break through the armor, so that's kind of like my main reasoning for it. And then for the minor augment, Dead Break, due to the high armor usage in the higher rounds. So moving on to Quick Revive, EMT for me for co-op, I think that's really good. And then Dying Wish for solo play. I think the main issue is that it takes away your Quick Revive, so if you have all the perks, it is very expensive to get it back, but if you don't use all the perks, then, you know, it's fine. For the minor augment, Swift Recovery is good on co-op, and then Karmic Return can be good as well. It just kind of depends on whether or not you're playing solo or co-op, mainly for Quick Revive. Elemental Pop, Citrus Focus is what I prefer with the ammo mods, but Electric Cherry is good as well. That can be basically put up to personal preference. I think my main thing is Citrus Focus, so I can proc either Deadwire or Napalm Burst more because they do a lot of damage. Which moves us on to the minor augments. Vulnerabine is really good for certain ammo mods like Deadwire and Napalm Burst. Chillberry is good as well for more general play. So now moving on to PhD. A PhD slider, super fun. Gravity MD can be good as well in certain situations if you don't want to commit to the dive. Tribologist is really fun, but EOD Technician is more practical. So if you want to commit to the slide, PhD Slider and Tribologist. For more like general use, Gravity MD and EOD Technician. For melee Macchiato, Vampiric Extraction or Triple Shot. Personally, I like Vampiric for just melee general use, but if you want to use the actual punch, then the Triple Strike or Triple Shot. For minor augments, Strength Training is really good, but the other two are pretty decent. This is more personal preference. So now moving on to the ammo mods. We have Brain Rot. Pheromone is pretty good, but in my time it doesn't really distract all the zombies, at least that I've seen. It only works some of the time, so in general I just like big game, and that's for all the ammo mods. For the minor augment, Extension or Haste, it's more personal preference. I don't think it really matters, just pick one or the other. Moving on to Cryo Freeze, big game again. but Ice Cloud does feel inconsistent to me, and Frozen Stiff only works on one zombie. So for the minor augment, definitely Liquid Nitrogen, at least for me. Moving on to Deadwire, Big Game is okay, but Lightning Strike is very fun to use. For the minor augment, Haste or Extension is a personal preference. For Napalm Burst, Big Game again, but Firebomb is again really fun. Contact Burn is probably my go-to for the minor. Now, finally moving on to Shadow Rift. Big Game is good again, but Explosive Rain is probably the more fun option. Targeted or Supermassive for the minor augments, both are pretty good. That's just kind of, again, personal preference. Now moving on to the field upgrades. Energy Mine. The turret lasts a super long time, so if that's bugged, then there you go. But the turret one, as of now, is probably the best one. Extra Charge is probably my personal preference, though. Siren, again, doesn't attract all the zombies, at least in my experience. So you're just going to have to find personal preference on that one. For Frenzied Guard, the major augment is going to be Retribution, is good for those oh shit situations. But Frenzy Fire is really good as well for more offensive with certain weapons, like the Mustang and Sally's. On solo, Extension with Frenzy Fire, and on co-op, boss fights especially, Phalanx with Rally. So moving on to Dark Flare. Dark Flare is kind of shit, but Supernova makes it fun. I would choose a Dark Pact for co-op. Heavy Shadow is the really only useful one for like the useful minor augment. I don't know. Dark Flare is not that good, so you know. Now moving on to Healing Aura. I think there's really only one thing that I can choose, at least for me, and that's Persistence, and the minor being Stoic Presence. Again, that can be up to you. Maybe I'm just blind to other ones, but to me that's like the go-to for Healing Aura because you're really only using it in co-op. So finally, Ether Shroud on co-op, it should be Group Shroud, and on solo, Void Sheath, especially if you're using melee Macchiato, and of course the minor augment should be Extension. So yeah, hopefully you guys found that useful. I've pretty much played with all of the major and minor augments. There's a couple I'm still missing, but definitely these ones are probably the go-tos. Again, some of it's personal preference, so find out what you like. And again, I just wish there was you can make minor and major augment sets for solo and co-op. But other than that, hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time.